nicely done. After a lifetime slaving away in an industrial chemical laboratory, Doug Cable was liberated in 2009. Congratulations. Enabling him to have the time to wander about, visiting a few interesting places. This has given him the opportunity to attend a number of Urantia book study groups, mostly in the eastern United States. He also writes a blog about his travels, The Wandering Urantia. He will be assisted this afternoon by a very special visitor. More on this later. Doug Cable, please.
Testing?
Try.
Testing? Testing?
Give me a little.
Okay? Good? All right. It is a pleasure to be with you and describe my journeys visiting study groups. Most of my travels have been along the East Coast or Gulf Coast, and it gives me a chance to meet other readers and to share the experience that I've had observing study groups in my travels. With me today,
That's good.
all right, with me today is Mona Pisha, a recorder seraphim and a reporter for the Jerusalem Daily Broadcast Service. She is here with us to gather a report on the status of study groups on Urantia. She has made some notes and has some questions for us. She knew this symposium was going to take place, and she asked if she could come and visit with all of you. You must always remember, there are countless invisible beings, always assisting us.
I bring you greetings from far, far away.
Can we get her a microphone?
I don't need it.
For the internet.
We're in it. Let's go.
Okay. I've been allowed to visit with you in this forum to better interact with you and to better understand your study groups. This is a really special assignment for me to be able to come and visit this beautiful group today, this weekend, and it's just such an awesome chance to come and see the planet of the cross, and thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you, Mr. Perry. I have a couple of messages. First, I want you to understand that the hosts of celestial beings that you have come to know in the Urantia book share your quest to know God better and to come to understand Him better and to walk along with the mortals on this long, 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 long journey to the ages of light and life. I'd also like to let you know that there are many celestial beings and mortals that ask us. We get inquiries about this planet, and that's one reason they've decided to let us come down. But I want to assure you, and we even get messages from the big guys sometimes up in Uversa, so that helps. But I want you to understand that because of the quarantine, I assure you that this report will go through the correct channels for Universe broadcast. Mr. Cable, please tell us how you see this revelation being used.
Well, it's been translated into more than 15 languages and distributed widely. We also have many study groups throughout the world that are dedicated to greater understanding of this revelation.
There's another group of seraphim, the social architects, who assist with groups like this. And they assist them to become much more effective and efficient. Tell me about these study groups on your ranch.
Well, these groups are for studying the epical revelation, learning about God and His presence in our lives. In these study groups, we learn that we are all brothers and sisters under the fatherhood of God.
How do these study groups work to accomplish that?
Well, that is in this Revelation, the Urantia book. One thing that is important for these study groups is for the leader to maintain some control over the meeting, making sure that everybody is involved and that nobody talks too much about extraneous subjects. That way we can better focus on studying this Revelation. These are Urantia book study groups, and this book and its application to our daily lives needs to be the focus of the discussion.
What type places do these people meet?
Well, all kinds of places. Sometimes it is in somebody's home, or in a library, or in my camper. One in the Florida Panhandle meets in an office in a bank building. Another in the Panhandle meets in a spiritual building called the Capstone House. There's one group that meets in the lovely tea house near the North Shore of Lake Pontchartrain in Louisiana. Another excellent group currently meets in the Panera Bread restaurant, but they hope soon to be meeting in a college classroom.
How do these members get to know each other that attend these groups?
Well, that is a good question. The groups are all different, of course, but many of the good groups have a social period before or after the meeting. A group in Florida meets on Sunday afternoons, and they have a potluck lunch, followed by their study group. And after that, they have a meditation period in their beautiful backyard. My group in South Carolina meets at a restaurant on Sunday evenings for a meal before the meeting in my camper. One group has its meetings in a library for a couple of hours, and then most of them go down the street to a pizza place for pizza and beer for a couple more hours. These social aspects are important, and they allow the members to bond and get to know each other and to share extraneous information without interfering with the meeting.
How do these groups study the book? Do they just start at the beginning and read through? How do they ever finish it?
Well, that depends on the group. To get a broad spiritual perspective, we should start at the beginning. But some prefer to start someplace else, with the life of Jesus, for example. If the members are experienced members, the first way would be better. With other groups, well, maybe learning about the life of Jesus is best. Generally, it takes, well, more or less 5 years or so to get through the book. Some are quicker, some take longer. I know one group leader, she took care to explain every difficult topic, and they might only read a few paragraphs in a 2-hour meeting. The important thing is to understand what is being studied and to share this understanding with those in the meeting.
So these groups change over time?
Well, certainly, groups grow and change. Sometimes they get too big and need to split up. It is important for the group leaders to persevere, because the size of these groups will wax and wane. They must not get discouraged if membership falls.
So why do they wax and wane?
Well, I think there are a couple of reasons. One is for the new readers. The new readers have trouble assimilating all this new information, and they have trouble understanding it all. And for the long-term readers, they get bored and they could get the same thing over and over. So in a sense, both groups say, why bother?
How do your groups find new members?
Well, that is sometimes difficult. Generally, each member tries to find someone who's interested in learning the truth.
Why don't you just stand on the street corner and shout it out like a newspaper stand, or sell it out of the trunk of your car?
It does not work that way, Mona. People must want to learn these truths. There's an excellent quotation in your answer book that explains it very well. In this passage, Jesus, Michael, states that if we truly live these teachings, manifest the fruits of the Spirit, then people will seek after us so they can gain what we have acquired. The extent to which you have to go with your message to the people is in a way the measure of your failure to live the whole or righteous life, the truth-coordinated life.
do you live these teachings?
We certainly try.
As preparation for coming here, I read your publication mandate, and it explains that you're supposed to be starting study group meetings, thousands of study groups all over the planet. Where are they?
Each of us must determine our own priorities. If we place God securely first in our lives, then we will manifest these fruits of the Spirit. And people will be drawn to us, so they can learn more about what it is that so motivates us. If instead we place materialistic considerations ahead of this message, we will continue to struggle to find new students of this revelation. As long as we fail to fully live these teachings, we will continue to fail to find more students of this revelation. We live these teachings by dedicating our lives totally towards doing God's will, to live in service for our brothers and sisters.
So this looks like might be your meetings. Why do you attend these study groups? I mean, why should people attend these study groups?
Well, to study the Rancher book. Well, really, the reason is to grow spiritually. You want to learn more about God and His creation, how everything fits together. By interacting with other students of this revelation, we gain a wider perspective. It is this sharing of insights from our Urantian brothers and sisters that helps us to grow.
What's the atmosphere like in these groups? How does it feel to the mortals to be in these groups?
Well, that naturally varies. Some groups are vibrant, alive, and there's a meaningful exchange of ideas. You are aware of a real spiritual joy in interacting with these sincere students of the revelation. However, there are some that just go through the motions, sort of like they were reading a grocery list.
That doesn't sound very productive. Exactly what do these groups do in their meetings? Just what happens?
Once in a meeting, they read from the book. Most groups read about one paper per meeting, rotating, taking turns around the group. With some groups, more effort is placed on getting the pronunciation right than trying to find out what the deeper meaning is in these words. I think it's a good idea for the leader to prepare a list of questions or discussion points before the meeting. That way we get a better interaction and a better flow of ideas, because it's these discussions and interactions that are a very important part of the study group experience.
So what can be done to enhance this experience, this study group?
One way to improve this experience would be to have some sort of prayer or worship segment before or after the meeting.
Well, that's correct. For example, there is a quote in your Ranch book that states,
See it somewhere. There we go.
group or congregational praying is very effective in that it is highly socializing in its repercussions. When a group engages in community prayer for moral enhancement and spiritual uplift, such devotions are reactive upon the individuals composing the group. I'm still learning this language. They are all made better because of participation.
Yes, the social period helps the members to bond and get to know each other, but this does not encourage spiritual growth.
How can it be done? How can these groups encourage spiritual growth?
I think there's a clue in the booklet I'm currently writing. It is entitled Mature Faith. The first section of this booklet is, What is Faith? In it I point out that according to the Urantia book, faith denotes a personal relationship between the individual and God. True faith is not a set of codified teachings, a belief system, but rather what the individual has actually experienced. It is a real experience with God.
That's true. So how does this relate to study groups?
Well, please bear with me a moment. As previously stated, spiritual growth should be an important outcome of study group meetings. If all you wish to read the book, there's no need for meetings. Investigating and enhancing faith could assist in this growth. The fact that somebody takes the time to attend one of these study groups indicates that this revelation is their belief system. It becomes their faith when they act upon it, when they make decisions based upon this belief. One important way to enhance the study group experience would be for these groups to assist in the transformation from belief into true faith.
How do they do this? Please expand on that.
I point out in the booklet that there are 7 statements that characterize this transformation from belief into faith. These are: 1, the individual accepts the Urantia book teachings as a belief system. 2, the individual makes a heartfelt decision to follow this belief system. 3, the individual is deeply sincere. This is the key to the entire transformation: sincerity. The keys of the kingdom of heaven are sincerity, more sincerity, and more sincerity. Everyone, right. All men have these keys. 4, the promptings to perform a certain act appear from the unconscious region of the mind. The individual must decide if each is acceptable and act accordingly. 5, the individual begins to cooperate with the indwelling adjuster, but this is an unconscious process. 6, each decision acted upon that is in harmony with God's will brings the individual closer to true faith. 7, even difficult decisions are bravely accepted and acted upon, knowing that God will assist us in completing the task. As an example of such a difficult decision was when I agreed to appear before all these good Urantians and talked about study groups. I have never before spoken to such a large group, but I know he will assist me. With him on our side, all things are possible.
Absolutely. So how would this work in practice in the study group?
Well, that would naturally depend on the group. But one way would be for the group to allocate some time at each meeting to discuss one of these points. They may talk about how to identify these decisions and learn to act on them instinctively. Recall that Jesus repeatedly rehearsed the apostles in dealing with difficult situations, so that when the real test came, they acted instinctively and courageously. Also, if members have stories to share or wants to ask for help for some aspect of the process, they should be encouraged to do so, even individually or to the group as a whole.
How would this work with new readers or a group with many readers?
I do not feel that would be a problem. First, this process does not require an extensive knowledge of the revelation because it is a faith-enhancing process. Also, even with a group of having many long-term readers, there'd be a wide variation in the spiritual growth of the various members. Those who are farther along the growth path could help the others, and this assistance is mutually beneficial to all present. Another consideration is that there may be some who are uncomfortable with this process, and their viewpoints must certainly be respected.
Here's one. Getting back to the members. What if the group does get a new member who wants to study the book but has trouble with these concepts?
Oh, that's a good question. Then the leader may assign somebody to answer the new reader's questions whenever necessary, sort of like a buddy system. You want to encourage anyone who is interested and is seeking for truth.
So what else does the group do? The group leader, excuse me.
The leader is really there to facilitate the flow of study. This facilitator holds control over the meeting, explaining terms that may not be understood, and tries to keep the subject on topic without any long rants. I know one group leader who was good at this. One time she was asked, "Does your ancient book discuss reincarnation?" She said yes, and went on without discussion. Because, and of course the reason was many in the group were new readers, and she knew that they believed in reincarnation, and she did not want to get bogged down on this one topic. So it's important for the group leaders to know the members of their group and have some idea of what the viewpoint is.
Proper leadership is quite important in most activities.
Facilitator can set the tone for the entire group. The best ones seem to be able to direct the group quietly and with understanding. On the other hand, I know one leader who insisted the meeting had to be exactly 2 hours long. Towards the end of the meeting, everybody asked, "Is the time up? Is the time up?" Inflexible rules do not promote meaningful exchanges. Certainly the group must have rules to maintain an orderly meeting, but the leader needs to exercise wisdom in conducting the meeting.
What's the most important thing you would consider to be for a study group? Besides chocolate, I found chocolate.
Well, in addition to that, somebody who asks good questions. That improves the flow of ideas and information. That is one of the main purposes of the meeting. Such cross-fertilization stimulates and expands our spiritual perception. As we stated previously, one way to do this would be for the leader to prepare before the meeting a list of questions and discussion points covering the material to be studied.
Expanding our spiritual perception is vital.
It is also important for study group leaders to register their group on the study group portal. That way others who are interested can find them. In my own travels, that is the main way I find new groups to visit. Last fall, as I said this morning, last fall I found an excellent group in Philadelphia this way. And this year I found an excellent group in Charlotte, North Carolina. The group leader should also check this portal occasionally to see what other groups may be in the area. Or another idea, if they're going on a vacation, here or even abroad, they might check that area for study groups to visit while they are there.
So you enjoy meeting with these study groups very much.
Oh, very much. Each group is unique and is a joy to observe how each group interacts and conducts itself. This Charlotte group that I mentioned has mainly young black members, and they are interested and participate in the meeting. They start and end their meeting with a prayer, and the week before I attended their meeting, they did a community service project instead of a study group at a local food bank. During the meeting, one of the members shared with the group what a meaningful experience that was for him. This is an example of manifesting the fruits of the Spirit. It is what we should all be about. My house on wheels was parked near Asheville, about a 2-hour drive away. All the way home after the meeting, I was bubbling over with spiritual joy. It was so hard to concentrate on the driving at times. Once I even had to exit the road to see what road I was on. I forgot where I was. These are great experiences, and I look forward to more of them.
I'd like for you to expand on something that, a point that you brought up earlier about what this experience, what happens in the study group when the group continues to just read the book, just read over and over.
Well, one way to generate more involvement would be for advanced study groups to study one topic in various parts of the book. Do a sort of a topical study on the nature of God, fall adjusters, Adam and Eve, Lucifer rebellion.
That sounds productive.
Another way to encourage studying instead of reading would be for a few study groups in one area to periodically plan a mini-conference. Each group would plan a segment before the meeting. It might take a month or a few months. And then at the mini-conference, each group would present and then participate in the other presentations. I've been to a couple of these, and I found them very enjoyable. One of them even had a communion service, complete with singing of hymns. All the way back to my house on wheels, I was singing these hymns. There's real spiritual joy in these meetings. Yes,
Sounds like a great way to meet other readers.
it certainly is. I recently visited another group that employed a different technique for encouraging studying instead of simple reading. They announced the paper in advance. People were asked to read the paper before the meeting. And then each segment was assigned to someone to present during the meeting. And then during the meeting, the book was not read at all, except for isolated passages, freeing up the time for exchange of ideas, instead of reading words that everybody has in front of them anyway.
There's a clue to the future of the study group meetings in your publication mandate. It says this is the time to be training leaders and teachers for a new age on the planet that will be more spiritual in nature.
Oops. Oops.
It also says,
Well,
click,
I saw it. There we go. Aha.
the future is not open to your mortal comprehension, nor mine, but you will do well to diligently study the order, plan, and methods of progression as they were enacted in the earth life of Jesus when the Word was made flesh. You are becoming actors in an ensuing episode when the Word is made book. These study groups are the incubators for our future leaders and teachers, and they are vital to spreading the good news, the gospel of your Jesus.
This quotation from the publication mandate brings up an important point. We are living in an episode when the Word is made book, and we may lose sight of this truth from time to time. For us Urantians living in this time, this book is just as vital to us as was the bestowal of Michael to our predecessors 2,000 years ago. It is imperative we manifest the fruits of the Spirit.
This mandate has instructed you to bring into existence all these study groups. The only way that can happen is if the group experience is uplifting, joyful, and fulfilling.
Yes. The future of this entire movement resides in our having healthy, vibrant study groups, where our understanding and application of these truths can grow and prosper.
Oh, Mr. Cable, I hope you do realize just how important these study groups really are. These study groups are the vanguard of the struggle to take back this planet from Michael. You need to so live your lives as to fully manifest those fruits of the Spirit.
That was well said. Thank you.
Do you have more to add?
In summary, study groups should have an effective leader who maintains control. Oh, right. Stay on topic can involve everyone. Have a social period before or after the meeting. Have a prayer or worship segment. Where to start reading depends on the group. Live the teachings in order to attract new readers. Allocate some time to discuss the transformation from belief to faith. Have a buddy system for new readers. Prepare questions and discussion points in advance. Register on a study group portal. Engage in community service projects. Conduct regional mini-conferences. Announce the paper beforehand, assigning each section to one person for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Cable. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me. It is time for me to return to Jews. I thoroughly enjoyed being with you this afternoon, and I want each and one of you to take back all these lessons to your study groups. We need to see real progress on this world of the cross.
Thank you for being with us, and carry our regards back to Jerusalem. Thank you, and have each one of you have a happy journey home. Very question. Yeah. Question?
Your last bullet.
Yep. Fight regroupism at all costs.
Yes.
Thank you.
What does that mean?
Well, you just read the book, da 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 da. We've been, I think we've all been
You
there.
mean just read the book and no discussion?
Yeah, we've been there, yeah.
Like mindless drones winding their way into oblivion.